Okay. Hi everyone, or whoever's watching this video. So today we're going to be preparing a contract to lease, and we're going to go over the documents that you need in order to prepare an offer, what you will need to submit, either if it's an offer for an in-house property or if it's an outside property. Just in general, how to send a full-on rental offer, a complete rental offer, something that another agent will look at and it's going to want to work with you because you're organized. You put everything in a same file and you send that complete offer. So to start off, we do have something called, that you can find it on Dropbox, on documents for rent. We have something called a rental application. A rental application is going to help you achieve a couple of things. One, get to know your client a little better. Know where they come from, know why they're moving, know how many people they're moving. Usually you have this conversation over the phone or through text or something like that. But a rental application will give you a lot of information on a person. So once you have the rental application, that's one of the first things I send out before we even pick a unit, when we're in the process of looking for a unit. Now when I see that we're getting close to it, of course you need to show proof of income, credit reports, IDs, because you need to make the offer under their names legally, so you need to have their IDs, and the rental application plus the contract to lease, which we'll get into in a minute. For proof of income, I personally do not work with pay stubs or with W-2s. It is the end of the year. I'm making this video on December 22nd, 2021, so I will not take a W-2 from last year. It's been a whole year. That's not something that we do. I can have it as a backup. I can have it to make the offer stronger if they're a little conscious about the proof of income. But as far as proof of income goes, always ask your clients for a bank statements. Pay stubs get deposited into a bank account. Cash gets deposited for the most part into a bank account. Direct deposits into a bank account. ACH payments into a bank account. Cell payments into a bank account. So a bank account will give you the best estimate for the income of the person that you're working with. Income should always be 2.5 to 3 times the rent. However, every client is different. But yeah, that's something that I get. Proof of income, bank statements. I have them going to Credit Karma and send me a picture of their credit score, something that shows their name, or if it's easier for them to fully export it from Expedia or something like that, I also take that. If the person does not have Credit Karma, we do have a link in the office that you can run their background and their credit report for about $25. Obviously tenant pays, but well, let's say that everything checks out okay, right? So rental application, you're gonna go into Dropbox, you're gonna go into documents for rent. Documents for rent, if you're watching this video, you're part of the office, so that's something that is accessible to everyone. All of our agents have Dropbox, or they need to have Dropbox, because all of our documents go in there. We're a paperless office. So you go into documents for rent. I have it here on my rental application, but it's somewhere here, rental app copy. This is the rental application. So like I said, it's going to ask you how many people will live in the unit, the email, the address. So you have the client's information. Sometimes all you have is like first name and phone number. You want to add them to your mail out list. You want to add them to your email, list. You want to know whether they've had bankruptcies, whether there's a second applicant, current salary, occupation, length of occupation, all that fun stuff. So once you got that filled out and you got a complete offer, it should look like, I'm going to go to any offer that I have. It should look like something, let's see, the latest offer I'm working on. Rental application, credit reports. On this one, I had her send me another credit because I didn't see her name on it. Regardless, the building does run that. That's their ID. This is a pay stub and earnings statement. They send me a picture of themselves. and the background. Once you have a complete offer, always put it in a file, on the same file, export everything as a PDF. Don't send it, as an image. If your clients are texting you pictures of their bank statements and stuff like that, make sure that you open it up in your computer and that they're legible, because if not, it's pretty much an incomplete offer. People can't read it. Alright, so getting into the fun part. Making a contract to lease. So we're gonna go, I had a file open. With dot loop, you're gonna create a dot loop. You can either do that or for simplicity, really depends on what you do. But that's that. I'm gonna use this one. This is an old deal, something that is not gonna close, so we're good there. This is what it looks like. This is what you're gonna name it. So I'm gonna name it here test, just because I'm gonna use it as a test. Whatever name you put up here, I recommend it to be either, if you do a lot of sales or rentals, in order for you not to get lost, I usually put rental, address, unit number, or I put just the property address. The second thing I do is I add my people. Before I add anything here, let's say that this was not here, I add the people that I need to work, that I'm gonna be working with. So here you're gonna put their full name. I already have myself in here. So, and then a name, and you're gonna assign a role. Once you add the person, if you are the listing agent, of course you're gonna put yourself as a listing agent. If you're not, then you gotta go into IMAP and get the name of the owner of the property. But the first thing I do, if I'm representing the client, I put the client onto dot loop before I add a document, because dot loop, you gotta work smarter, not harder. Dot loop will assign all the signatures and all the like little things once you assign a role to a person. So it is better that you do it beforehand, so when you input the contract to lease, all the signatures get they go into the place that they're supposed to. This is not as important with the contract to lease, because the contract to lease is only literally like 4 signatures, 4 initials and a signature. But with the lease, it's a lot, because it's like 18 pages. So you're gonna go into the templates. On our templates, if you work with Nivaldo's dot loop, or you can create your own, we have templates that are already pre-filled out. They're not pre-filled out, in a very big extent, so I still have to do most of the job. But you're gonna do a contract to lease. You're gonna copy it and you're gonna add it. One second. Sorry. Okay. So once you have your people, you put your contract to lease, you have everybody's information, they're qualified and everything, you have their IDs, you have their email, you have everything else. You're gonna go into the contract to lease. So you're gonna get the property, which you should have it on the top of your head. Let me log into the MLS real quick, because we need to get the owners. When you're representing the client, you're gonna need to get the owner's information. Now, if you're representing both, it's a lot easier because you know who it is. Okay, so this is what Matrix looks like, what the MLS looks like. And the MLS, the ones that I use the most, dot loop, Matrix, IMAP. There's another one I forgot. My Condo Plus. My Condo Plus will give you the floor plan of the unit. IMAP. So IMAP, that's where the information for the unit is. The way to access IMAP, you can do it 2 ways. You can do it from the portal. You can do it from right over here. You go into IMAP, or you go into the MLS, which I like to do it that way because regardless, I like to get more information on the property. So if the property is active, you go to an active property. If the property is not active, then you look it up, and you look it up the other way. You look it up through here. So the way to do it through here, you're gonna go into property address. We're gonna do one at Akoya, not 360. I mean Grandview. You're gonna put the first four numbers of the address, and then here you're gonna. This can all be changed. So the property zip code, da da da, per sale, subdivision. I go to the one right under the address of the property, and I go into property unit number. I select that, and I put the property unit number. So I'm gonna do, let's say 2307. With that alone, that should give me the address. That should give me the property. Sometimes one or two properties are gonna come up, so you just gotta check on the address and click on the correct one. This is a property that we have. I know this is the owner. This is how I usually do it. This is the property address, the one that you're looking at. This is their tax mailing address. Some of them vary. That's not something that you really need to look at, but this is pretty much the information on the property. So here, once you input the contract to lease, it's gonna ask you to select the roles. So Neva is the listing agent example. Landlord, we don't have a landlord here. Tenant is gonna be this guy, and tenant number 2 is gonna be myself. And I'm gonna hit autofill. So here it's gonna fill everything out that I, for the most part that I need, except the owner's name. So here's where I go into my IMAP, into the property, and I get their information. I get their name, etc., etc. Once you go into the actual listing, I'm working with different listings right now, but they all look the same essentially. Once you go into a listing, you can also do it through here. The property is listed on the MLS and you don't know the owner's number. It's not your property. You're representing only the client. You can always go into the little I right here from IMAP. Same one as this one. Where is it? My goodness, right here. And you'll get it. Now, the office is here. The listing agent is here. That's when a property is active. So from there, you're going to get some information that you'll need to make the offer. So when you go back here, you put the name of the owner. So pretty much this is what it reads. Landlord and tenant agree to execute a lease agreement no later than. Usually this I make it match up with the security deposit and the day that the security deposit is due. If I'm presenting the offer today, I want the security deposit within the next 24 hours. So I'm going to put it for the 23rd. Let's say that the price is $1,900. If the price is 24, 25, 26, 48, whatever, you just change the number. I like to hold escrow myself. I feel like I have more control of the transaction. Things get done quicker. Closing happens, with no issues. So I like to hold escrow at least in my office. So I usually put South Florida Investments escrow upon acceptance. That's part of my pre-filled out offer. Before we get there, right here, you put that the lease agreement will be executed no later than the 23rd. For the property described, the lease will include the terms set forth in paragraphs 3 to 12 from here on. Landlord, tenant, fill in the blank. Landlord, if left blank, will prepare the lease. The landlord or the listing agent is always going to prepare the lease. Those are his terms. You just, accepting them pretty much. Okay, that's that. With escrow, we already went there. So you're going to put the price of the property, $2,000, $20,000, whatever. You're going to put the escrow and you're going to put the property address. The property address, you should know it off the top of your head. If you don't know it, again, IMAP is your best friend. You go back to IMAP or you go back to the listing. This is the property address. You're going to copy and paste, or you go into the listing and that's the property address. So it's pretty self-explanatory. You put the property address, etc., etc. You put the zip code, beach, city, state, all that. The property, full property address. The property will be unfurnished or furnished. You attach inventory. You hit whatever option applies to you. Let's say that it's unfurnished. Let's say the husband is applying, but they have a girlfriend. The girlfriend doesn't necessarily need to be on the lease, but she's going to occupy the unit, so she does have to go through association approval. This is where you put it. The property will be used for residential purposes and occupied only by the tenant and the following persons. Still, if you put somebody as an applicant, they have to apply to the building. However, if the building, let's say, has a minimum credit requirement, this person will not be applicable for it. So it depends on the building. Let's say Mason Grande, they have a 700 minimum credit score. If I put somebody with a 700 credit score, but the wife, let's say, or their friend or their co-applicant does not have it, that person automatically will go up here, and then the other person will go here because it's an occupant. So let's say that you put an occupant, so that's gonna be Jimena de la O. Again, she still has to go through association approval. Lease term. The lease will begin on. You select the dates. Usually, if it starts on one date, it ends if it's for a year, it ends the year after. Or if for short term, it ends the date before the moving date. So if it was on January 1st, it's gonna end on December 31st, 2022.
No, this is.
Now, money due before occupancy. This, I leave it for last because I'm gonna do this first, like this whole part. So right here, this is where it gets not complicated, but where you need to be careful because this is your actual offer. So let's say that the property is $2,000. Your first month's rent, you're gonna ask for that. Your last month's rent, you gotta ask for that. And your security deposit, you gotta ask for that. Let's say that the building has a security deposit. Let's say $500. You gotta add that. If there's a pet, if there's a deposit, you gotta add that in there. I usually like to put if it has an assigned parking, so I put assigned parking. Well, you word it however you want. One assigned parking, a parking assigned one, doesn't matter. Our office has an admin fee of $50, so I put admin fee to South Florida. $50. Now, the dates are what makes the difference. In here, up here, you put that we will execute an agreement no later than tomorrow. You can put this one as tomorrow, you can put it Friday. Let's say that we put it Friday to give it 2 days to get everything executed. If there's any changes, people sometimes take a little longer to sign, etc., etc. If you know your clients are on point, put it for the next day, if not the same day. First month's rent. Technically speaking, here, what says in paragraph 2, deposit. With the intention of entering into a lease, the landlord and the tenant, the tenant has paid X amount of money as a deposit to the escrow account. It could be a title company, an attorney's office, your own escrow account. You just put the name in there. Upon execution of a lease by both parties, the parties authorize the deposit holder to transfer the deposit according to landlord's instructions, and landlord will credit the deposit to the money due on their paragraph 5. This is paragraph 5. This is what that applies. The paragraph 2 deposit will be credited as follows. So technically speaking and legally speaking, we cannot get paid out of a security deposit. The security deposit is untouchable. Not even the owners can use that. You're supposed to put that in a non-bearing account, leave it there for the rest of the year, and if you need to make any deductions, you do so at the end of the year. Not in between. You don't spend that money and then put it back. That's technically and legally what a deposit is supposed to do. So we cannot charge commission out of a deposit. We charge commission out of a first month's rent. So here, the first month's rent, I put it with the due date of the deposit. This is what I call it. I explain my clients that over the phone. I tell them this is why I'm doing it this way, because legally I cannot get charged. A lot of people don't even notice and they don't even understand the full wording of it. But so you know, in case that you run into a client that does, first month, it's technically the same as your your security deposit. I just need to hold a month from you so you don't come out of contract. So you have something to lose. That's pretty much it. I'm going to apply it as a first month's rent because I literally tell them that I don't get paid out of a security deposit. Your security deposit is your security deposit that has to be held until the end of the lease, and then the owner will should disburse it back to you. So here, the first month's rent plus applicable taxes, which is equal to 1 month's rent, it's gonna be due the 24th, because by the 24th, if I don't have a deposit, I can legally come out of contract. Now the last month, I usually like to write it at move-in, because in the case that the move-in has to be changed, I don't have to go and make so many changes. It's so stipulated that it's gonna be due at move-in, whether the move-in, ideally takes place on the 1st or it takes place on the 5th. You got to bring it the day that you move it into the unit, the day that you take possession, because the lease doesn't start and is not hold accountable until you take possession of the unit, until I give you keys and you give me money. So same for security deposit. The security deposit, I'm gonna collect it and move it because it is, technically speaking, the best way, right? The 500, I usually, since it's security deposit for association, I put upon approval. If there's no association deposit, I put NA, not applicable, and I leave it like that. Now, paragraph 2. This is where it is. The paragraph 2, the deposit, this one up here, will be credited as follows. So this deposit, again, I cannot get paid out of it. So it's gonna go, that deposit goes towards the first month's rent, which is $2,000. One second. Which is $2,000. That stays like that. You don't put ever into security deposit or last month or other. You know, I see agents that fill everything up. You don't need to do that. It pretty much is stipulated. It stipulates it here. Now, rent payments. I leave these two for last. Sometimes I don't like to fill them out because the moving amount tends to change from here and there. So I don't like to put anything here. If I know that the unit is gonna be $2,000, I know off the bat the tenant will pay a total rent amount for the lease term of $24,000. It's a $2,000 rental, so it's gonna be $24,000 that you're gonna pay for the year. Tenant will also pay total taxes. We don't charge taxes. Tenant will pay the rent including taxes when applicable as follows. We don't have taxes. If you're gonna pay the whole year up front, you put in full. You put the date that they're gonna pay, which is gonna be their moving date, and you're gonna put the full amount that they're gonna pay. If it's gonna be monthly, which is usually how it is, you put monthly. If they move on the 1st, it's gonna be due on the 1st. If they move on the 15th, then it's gonna be due on the 15th. Now, if your landlord, if your the leasing agent tells you that the rent has to be prorated and that, you know, the owner wants to get paid every 1st, but you're moving the 10th, then you're gonna have to prorate those days. I'll make a video about that another time. So let's say that you have no issues. The person is gonna pay the day or every month on the day that they moved in. So he's moving on the 1st, he's gonna pay on the 1st. The amount that he's gonna pay is gonna be $2,000. There are no pets and no smoking, prohibited. If there is a pet, then you put permitted, and I put the pet on file and I put picture attached because, you know, you don't wanna fool the owner. You don't want the owner for them to tell you, hey, it's a Yorkie, and then you get there and it's a pit bull. You know, so you put that attached. You always ask for a picture of the pet because that's something that you need to disclose to the landlord. So even as representing the tenant, you should always ask for a picture of the pet, also so you know what type of pet it is. So here you put whether it's prohibited or permitted. Monthly on the 1st, the first day if left blank, that's standard. Usually the leases begin on the 1st of each month in the amount of how much are they paying a month? $2,000. So that's what you're gonna put, $2,000. Number 9, utilities. Tenant will pay for utilities during the lease term. Connection charges and deposit for activating existing connection to the property, except for most buildings, unless it's a house, have water, trash, and sewer included. That comes in your HOA. Now, a lot of buildings have cable and internet, basic cable and internet. Some of them have the electricity included within the building. Some owners decide to include the electricity. They like to cap it. So you just put everything that is pretty much included in here. If you don't do this part, then you're not representing your client properly because there's nothing that stipulates that was part of the deal. This is your deal. This is how you're sending an offer. So let's say I want electricity included. So I'm going to add electricity in here. Electric and basic cable and internet. If they're not okay with it, they'll cross that out and they will send it back to me without initial. You should always check the listing because on the listings that information comes up. So that's part of your due diligences. going to see it. Sometimes they put it on the remarks, sometimes they put it here. So here it tells you maintenance included: common area, elevator, landscaping, maintenance manager, security tower, trash removal, water, etc., etc. Those are basic things that come with the HOA. Some buildings, this building doesn't. Some buildings, like I said, have other things included. Maintenance, number 10. This is going to be pretty much a deductible. A deductible, not necessarily that if it's less than the amount of the deductible, you still pay the deductible. No, the way we work it, and every landlord is different. The way I like to do my offers is adding, if the property is above $2,500, I put $200 as a deductible. If the unit is below $2,000, I put $150 because it's not a lot. So maintenance. Landlord will be responsible for maintenance and repair of the property except for AC filters. That's something that is basic. You can put water filters. Something that is basic. And you're going to put that they're responsible for anything up to $200. So I put minor repairs of up to $2,000. Now, let's say they clog the toilet. That's not landlord's responsibility. That's my use and negligence. They clog the toilet. To unclog it is gonna be $180. That still falls under the deductible, so they pay $180. They don't pay $200. If they broke a light bulb, the light bulb is $20. They're gonna pay $20. They're not gonna pay $200. So that's pretty much what it is, and you should always explain your client prior to you sending the offer so they don't freak out when they see the number. Because a lot of people think that any little thing, then they're gonna have to come out of $200 for a deductible, which is not like that. Association approval. Where applicable, the lease will be contingent to condominium or cooperative or homeowners association approval. That's standard. You cannot move a person in without having an approval. If you do so, that's an immediate denial, cancellation. You cannot move the person back in. The landlord or the tenant. We're representing the tenant here. The tenant is always going to pay for the application fee. The application fee sometimes is $150, sometimes it's $100, sometimes it's $200. It depends on the building. That's usually on the listing or the listing agent, or if you know the building already, you would know what it is. So you're going to put the amount of the association, and you're going to give them about 5-day grace period for them to really send in the application. Now, look at this part right here. $100 application fee of $100, and make application for association approval by, let's say that you want to move in on the 1st. So we already don't have time. Let's say that you're moving in on the 15th, if you do it with enough time. Regardless of the matter, they need to do the application like that, because that's the only thing that is really secure in the deal to go through. If they don't apply, they cannot move in, and they might lose a deposit, whatever, but you still have a deal. So I put the 27th. By the 27th, I want them to have already the application ready, submitted, or ready to be submitted. That's something that if they don't do, they'll be in breach of contract, because that's a deadline, and I can officially go into business with somebody else. As a listing agent. As a tenant's agent, it's a little different. You gotta make sure that you're on top of your clients. Clients forget, clients get busy, you gotta baby them sometimes. If such approval is not obtained before beginning of lease term, either party may terminate the lease by written notice to the other at any time before association approval. Tenant will receive a return of all deposits paid. If the lease is not terminated, rent will abate until association approval is obtained. Here, I don't like to leave that part in, because some associations, they take longer. So let's say that my client submitted it, something went wrong, documents were not uploading, etc., etc. We were not able to get approved by the 15th how we hope so. That doesn't mean that you can come out of contract. Usually at that point, people won't want to come out of contract because they already don't have a place to live. They were hoping to move in before. So, but at the same time, I don't like that. So I always strike through that, because it doesn't work for me, and it shouldn't work for you either. Here, well, point is, you just strike through the whole thing. So So there are no misunderstandings. So there's nothing wrong with it. And nobody can come out of contract. I don't like that look of this. It's so hard. Okay. I removed that. Additional terms. This is, I always had it. 1 assigned parking or 2 assigned parkings or 3 assigned parkings, whatever it is. I want my unit professionally clean prior to moving. And you put all the additional terms. Let's say you want no TVs, and no kitchen stuff. Everything you add it here. You can specify it on an email once you send the offer just to avoid misunderstandings, but everything goes in here because this is what the owner signs. If you don't have this sign and if you don't have it in writing, it's not valid. It's a verbal agreement. A verbal agreement anybody can break. Background. Here it just tells you that they will run a background. Service member status. This is important. You should always know if you're working with a service member. Service members have different regulations and they fall under different things. Service members are the only people that you need to give an explanation to if you deny them. Anybody else, you just tell them, sorry, I deny you, and they cannot, they can do anything. You don't have to disclose your reason to a service, a person that has served or that is active on the military. You do. So on this one, you always need to make sure that they're either they are or they're not, so you can check correctly. If they're not, you just click no. Brokers. This is for us. This is how we get paid. Prospective tenant agent. I'm the tenant agent, so my name is Ana Zavala. I am with my office. I'm gonna put my office here. What I like to do, and this is a personal advice, I go back to the listing and I see how much they're gonna pay. This is a sale, so this is a contract lease for a rental. So this won't work, but let's say this one right here. Let's see how much Araceli is gonna pay. Araceli is paying half a month buying agent's compensation. That's what she's gonna pay, the one that brings the client, because she's representing the landlord, so she's gonna get paid either way. Araceli Alvarez, you're gonna put her here. If that's the case, you're gonna put the person that is the listing agent, that you're gonna find a matrix where I just showed you guys, like at the end right here, this is the listing agent. And you're gonna see the compensation that you're gonna get. Sometimes it's 5%, sometimes it's half a month, sometimes it's 3%, sometimes it's 2.5. I don't work with 2.5. Either you pay me what you're supposed to, or I won't bring your client. I'll situate my client somewhere else. I like to do it. I like to put it here because there's no record and there's no way of keeping track on the MLS if you change the compensation. There's no way. I can have a listing. If I don't export it with today's date, etc., that is going to show me that, I have no proof. This is why I do it the way that I do it, because it has happened to me that I see that it's 5% commission, and then when we close, they change it to half a month. So guess what? I get paid half a month. So since you live out of experiences, I usually put it here. I put half a month for both because that's where we're getting paid, and everybody signs. Tenant sign, prospective landlord signs. You are representing the tenant in this case, so your tenant has to sign. You're gonna send it out for signatures. Sorry, this is why it's important to add the people before, because you see how I already have everybody assigned. I don't have to worry about assigning. Regardless, if you need to assign somebody, just click on it, you go up here, and that's gonna give you the amount of people, like the people that you have. You can always add somebody. You can always unassign something. Let's say that I don't want this person to sign right here, so I'll put no, and she won't sign. But everything else is already like taken care of. So this is pretty much my offer. The most important part, I mean, everything is important, but for the most part, this is what's really important, and your additional terms, and always cross this out of experience. What is happening? Okay. So that's pretty much a way to create a contract lease. Once you're done, you're gonna save, you're gonna share, you're gonna export, you're gonna do whatever you need to do, and you're gonna get that signed, because without that, you don't got a deal. All right, so I'm gonna cut it here. If you're watching this and you need my help with anything or you have questions, feel free to call me. If I don't answer, send me a text. You got my personal number. If you need if you have any questions or if you need anything at all, just give me a heads up, give me a call, and I'll help you out. Alrighty? Well, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. I'll see you in the next video. Subscribe to my channel. Bitch, I knew that this was not gonna work. Don't fucking tell me that.
No way. All that talking?
What do you mean? Si lo acabamos de hacer. Where's the thing recording? Because yeah, I can see myself, and this is exactly what happened. Pero I don't know. I don't know. Here.